Hello, welcome to Off the Beaten Tracks. Today I'm going to tackle Rob Walker's vinyl tag for 2023. You'll see his link to his channel down below. He has taken this task over for the VC community, and there's some really good questions here. And let's get started with the number one question, which is, what is the best album you purchased, favorite album you purchased this year? Well, the first one I did not purchase, but I was given. But this is Christmas. This is Heritage, a Canadian band from Oshawa, my hometown. The singer-songwriter from this is actually a friend of mine, and this is a very valuable and hard-to-get album. And I was given it. I can't tell you how appreciative I am. And it is in great shape. So I was really lucky to get that. Now, the one I purchased, which is my favorite, this is a tough one because I got a lot of albums this year, but I think All This Useless Beauty by Elvis Costello, had this on a CD, played this a ton back when it first came out. It's actually a collection of songs that Elvis had written for other people. And besides Distorted Angel, which I do not like, I love the rest of this album. This is just one of my favorite Elvis Costello albums, bar none almost. The last album I bought, in fact, this came, I think, New Year's Eve. I'd ordered 5 or 6 albums, unfortunately, from Amazon. This one, it was just too hard to get anywhere else. And it showed up on New Year's Eve. So this is Andy Partridge, My Failed Songwriting Career, Volume 2. I have Volume 1. This has 4 songs and just really good stuff. I mean, it's such a shame that XTC decided to call it a day, but I know Andy can be pretty hard to work with. So the next question, and I actually doubled up on this, was name a band or a singer who released 2 or more albums in the same year. Well, I have an artist who released 2 albums twice, and that is Harry Nilsson, and he released The Point and Nielsen Schmielsen in the same year, and that was 1971. 3 years later, in 1974, he came out with Son of Dracula and Pussycats. Now, Pussycats is the infamous album produced by John Lennon, who's right here on the cover. Apparently, Nielsen had the flu or something, and in his drunken idiocy, decided that he was going to not call off recording sessions and blew out his voice, his beautiful, beautiful voice. Apparently, he was coughing up blood in the studio, and his voice didn't recover for several albums, and maybe it was never the same again. Question number 4 is, if you could only listen to one decade, which decade would you choose? Well, I thought about this. I think it just has to be the 70s. I'm going to just name a few of the genres where they really excelled. Psych. This is a Canadian psych album, brilliant psych album by Perth County Conspiracy. Prog. Yes, Fragile. The amount of great prog albums that came out in the 70s. New Wave. The Stranglers. This is a fucking beaut of an album, and many other Stranglers albums, many New Wave albums. And you get into the kind of the punk era and the Saints. Well, I know a lot of people have got this album. I was given that by somebody. Thank you so much. I was given this by somebody. The Ramones. You're not going to get any better than that in the... and how about classic rock? Like, Who's Next? 1971. Unfortunately, the only downside possibly somebody could quibble with was the advent of disco. But, you have to overlook the odd thing in any relationship. And question 5 is, show a record by a band or singer from Manchester. So I do have Liam Gallagher, but too obvious, isn't it? Let's face it. We need to dig deeper than that. I was going to do my favorite poet, John Cooper Clarke, but somebody else in the VC already beat me to that. Now, I don't know if many will be putting up George Formby. Not only is this an interesting guy, fact, he was blind when he was born, had a coughing fit at 9, and gained his eyesight. He also had a song banned from radio called When I'm Cleaning Windows. And going a little more modern is Stack Waddy. This is a rock blues band. I just purchased this coincidentally just very recently. And it's kind of Smokestack Lightning. The vocalist sounds a bit like, but yeah, really good album. Next is question number 6. Which band or singer have you listened to the most in 2023? I would have to say probably John Hyatt, followed closely by Richard Thompson, mainly because my wife, when she's cooking or when she's playing around in the kitchen, those are the two artists that she plays the most. So question 7 is show 7 7-inch records. Now, my eyesight isn't as good as it used to be, so I'm going to cheat a little on this and do 10 10-inch records. I buy these very, very cheaply. I have several hundred, probably. And I just love the covers. Some of the vinyl is not what you'd hope for, but some of it is quite good. So I'm going to show you these. They evoke an era for me. Pick a Rib Jazz by Ben Pollock. Jewels of Song, Ben Yamani, or Mono Gigli. Eddie Arnold, All-Time Favorites. Billy Mays, Bacchanalia. Who wouldn't enjoy a little bit of that? I've got a series of these, but they're just so of their time. 8 top hits. This was done by, I don't know, somebody. But look at that cover. Rock and roll. This is the McGuire Sisters. I love this cover. Western Roundup. Joe I can't. I have this up on my wall. I just love this so much. Joe Fingers Car, The Fireman's Ball. Look at that. And Frank Rossellino just presents jazz. Question 8 is, who's coming to your party? Choose 4 music-related people to come to an imaginary dinner party, past, present. Who would you invite? Well, I think I'd have to invite Mr. Costello, just one of the greatest songwriters of his generation. Amy Mann, I think she would be a very interesting dinner guest. I've seen her a number of times, and she's quirky. I would do Andy Partridge. He's a bit of a contrarian, so he probably wouldn't like what we were serving, but you would get an in-depth knowledge of Swindon that only he could impart. And probably the last, boy, girl, I'm going to go with Chrissie Hynde. Very bright woman, has an enormous story to tell. I think it'd be a fascinating story. She actually almost married one of the Sex Pistols to stay in England because she's from Ohio and didn't want to get deported. Question 9. We'll also choose one musician who passed away in 2023. I was going to do Joe Mendelsohn. Mendelsohn Joe changed his name so that his mail, when it came from the government, would say Joe Mendelsohn instead of Mendelsohn Joe. He was an interesting guy and an amazing songwriter, but I decided to go, obviously, with a friend of mine, a good friend, Bob Segarini. Just a legendary guy. Could be a bit of a curmudgeon. I had many a talk with him. Produced one of Elton John's favorite albums, Miss Butters. This was probably his biggest album. Another solo album. He was in the Whackers. They did 3 albums.
We were dancing in the afternoon, listening to records on the radio, but we can't understand the words. I remember when I was a boy.
Question 10. Imagine you could only listen to music from one country. Which country would you choose? I didn't have to think twice about this. Britain. UK. There is no other country in the world that compares to the kind of music that the UK has put out. Considering it's a quarter the size of the United States, its output and the amount of quality beautiful music that has come out of that country. Rock and roll, obviously country, which I'm not a gigantic fan, and classical music, you'd have to go to Europe. But I would say for rock and roll, rock, prog, psych, all of that, I'm going with UK every day of the week. Question 11. Name 3 vinyl community channels you've discovered in 2023. One, and I know a lot of people have said this, Jack from the Vinyl Martini, fellow Canadian, just kind of a laid-back guy with a great presentation and does some great records. So there's number 1. Number 2 is Blockhead, young guy who likes punk and new wave. A lot of the stuff just takes me back to my younger days. I was probably a little older than he is now, but it's again, it's really good stuff. And third, Mike from the Vinyl Policeman. Again, some really good records, nicely done, and those channels, links to them will be down below. Question 12, show a record you bought when you were a teenager. And it is this one. Even though I do have the copy that I bought when I was, 14, something, 15, I recently bought this one because this one didn't have an idiot who ripped out these postcards. I still have the dollar bill from the other one, but I bought one with another dollar bill and the cards in place. Because when you're a 15-year-old, sometimes you do stupid things. And I was certainly no exception to that rule. Question 14 is show a record you think everyone has, then show a record you think nobody has. Well, you've fallen into my trap here, Rob, because I collect all kinds of odd vinyl. A record that everybody has, I picked Led Zeppelin 1. Going to the other side, and in fact, when people have held up, I won't name names or anything, I don't want to embarrass anybody, but several people have held up records that they don't think anybody has on these videos, and I actually have those records. But I'm going to go and let's see if anybody has any of these. This is Beverly Cotton, and it's called On Duty, and it is a record teaching you how to clog dance. There's one thing to have records that nobody in the VC has, but I have records that nobody on Discogs have. So I love collecting those Christian records where everybody's wearing the same suit. The Calvary Irish Quartet, I think this is from Canada. Not on any label. This is not in Discogs. This one, another religious album. This is Diane Lee. She does have albums on Discogs, just not this one. She was a Canadian country and western singer and is on the Marathon label, which is a very obscure Canadian label. But Diane Lee, God's People Are One. If only that were true. And this one I found this year, in fact. This is compliments. This is Frank O. Corano and Pino Gangalassi. I'm sorry about this. This is an album of music put out by a restaurant in Toronto on Eglinton Avenue. And it has the address there. I'm sure it probably isn't there anymore. But how many people could have that record? A gift from all of us at the restaurant. Come in, get a steak, and we'll give you some music. Question 15, She's Great, a record by a female artist that you bought in 2023. Well, I have a few here. The Beaches, they're from Toronto. In fact, right here in the Beaches where I live. This is a terrific album. In fact, these all are favorites of mine. The Big Moon, I think they're from Britain. The Beths are from New Zealand. These are all terrific albums. And Bossy, I just got this. I did not know who she was, but it was like $10 and a beautiful pop album. Just terrific stuff. Question number 16, your favorite video you posted on your channel in 2023 and the favorite video you watched on the VC in 2023. The first one's easy. I didn't do any videos in 2023. The second one's slightly easier. Your favorite video you watched on the VC in 2023, that would be probably The Vinyl Hunters. This was a recent video concerning a man named Barry Winton, who has 30,000 vinyl albums and CDs in London. Seemed to be a very eccentric, a very nice fellow. Took the interviewer around London to his favorite record shops, and took him back to his house to show this great collection. In an apartment, 30,000. Even in a house, 30,000 is a lot. In an apartment, if you watch the video, and I will post the link down below, it probably is too many. And that's coming from me. Question 13, show a funk or soul album. I do not have a lot in these genres. I'm just not a funk guy, and I'm not really a soul guy, but I was given this album, and I did listen to all of it. Revolution of the Mind by James Brown. Question 17 is show me a record you describe as a 90s classic. I'm going to hold up Nirvana Nevermind, and I actually owned this on CD, of course, at the time, earlier than almost everybody, because this did not sell right away. But I was walking past this record store with my child, Darby, on my back, and she loved pictures of babies. And I was going record shopping, and she pointed at this sign because they had a big poster of this. This was like right when it came out, and it didn't start selling, I think, for 6 or 8 months. And she liked this picture, not realizing that there was a dollar bill and a fish hook on it. Oh, the innocence of youth. And so I bought it. Question 18. If you could walk into a cover, look through your collection, and choose a record cover that you'd like to be a part of, well, I think hands down it would be this one. I like Beautiful Women. I quite like Whipped Cream. I would take a angel food cake with me, possibly some sort of chocolate bunt, and then we could just go to town on it and eat our way to bliss and wonders. Question 19. It's like a greatest hits album. Show a record you're so familiar with that it feels like a greatest hits album. That would have to be this one. This is Power in the Darkness by the Tom Robinson Band. Just every song on this is catchy. Even the one I'm not that fond of, which is Cortina, Great Cortina, I still like it. Just every song, he just hit on every level on this, and every one of these is catchy. And it's got an extra EP, and all those songs are catchy. So, hands down, I think it would be this one. Question 20. Show me an album that was released in 1974. I'm going with this one. This is Queen 2. One of the very first albums I bought. I remember going to a friend's house, and they were huge Queen fans, and nobody had ever heard of them, because this Queen 2 was the latest of the albums. Side 2 of this is absolute bliss.